Are you getting that feedback in the background? So this hearing that.
That's right, no problems. That's all right. Okay, well, welcome along everyone, and thank you for the latest instalment of our video series. And we know Richard and know about Richard's background, but there's been a number of you who are really interested to know a bit more about Richard, his background, and I've loaded reports. So I've got a few questions here for Richard, and we'll go through those, and hopefully you'll learn some new things about business and hospitality, remind you of some important lessons that you already know. So thanks for making yourself available, Richard, for today. So Richard, can we start by asking you, can you just tell us a bit of background about how you got into business and got into hospitality?
Yeah, sure. I'm not sort of, it wasn't by accident, but it was sort of by accident. So James, Arnott, my business partner, and I had bought a student flat in Dunedin, and it was it's kind of interesting because it was right when property was going bananas last time as well, in the previous cycle, and we're suddenly sitting on a flat with a whole lot of equity, and we were really just looking around to see if we could do what we'd done again and buy another student flat. So we're always looking in the papers, and over that time, DB Breweries, who had purchased the Cook a couple of years earlier, started advertising it for sale. So they'd kind of ended up in a position where they'd been forced into purchasing the Cook, and didn't consider themselves right to be continuing to run it. And in the first, I think that was my third year at university, they started advertising it. And in my first year at university, the Cook had been where basically everybody had gone at some point in their night, and just under, management with no ownership in place, it just had kind of fallen by the wayside. So we knew everyone still wanted to go there, but they just weren't being given, a strong enough reason or incentive to get there, because it wasn't, a fabulous place to be. So we actually went to my marketing lecturer and got him to help me put together a proposal. And I can't remember his name, but I should be fairly thankful to him. Because so we put together quite a good proposal together with the marketing lecturer and our lawyer, and DB didn't really have anybody to specifically handle the sale. It's obviously not their core business, so the process went on and on and on. And over that period, I think a lot of the established operators sort of fell by the wayside and got sick of the process, whereas to be fair, we didn't have a lot of else going on. So we just hung in there, and eventually won the tender by sort of a war of attrition. And it's still, when I look back, man, you have to give DB some credit. They took a real risk on us, and we went in, and May 1st, 2004, I think it was. So I left my fourth year of university to go and be the general manager of the Cook, which, sort of, I think everyone imagines that as that it was a bit of a dream, and it was certainly ego-wise. I think I was thinking the same, but the reality was pretty different. It was and it was 80, 100-hour weeks. We just had no business experience and basically no hospitality experience either. So the one good thing we did was hire a really capable general manager, and from there, we learned a lot from him, and then I guess brought some of our own skills in terms of the sales and marketing, and from my point of view, and the IT systems from James's point of view.
And I'm assuming what you did know, though, well, is you did know the customer profile or your customer, because you sort of were one. You know them very well.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of interesting. It's what we've kind of continued to do as we've grown, is just build bars and restaurants that we'd quite like. So you know, some of our places I definitely go in, and I feel old now, and our target market's definitely a bit younger. But you know, I think as the company's owners are maturing, so are some of our concepts and offerings. So and I, you know, it's kind of fun building things that you like, and as your stage of life changes. Sorry about the noise in the background. As your stage of life changes, your offering changes as well.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. All right. Well, look, we could honestly spend hours asking you questions around the cook, but well, I'll try and get through a few topics. I'll come back to that in a minute, though. One of the questions was that people are interested in is to find out more about loaded reports and how that came about, because it's become a very successful product within the hospitality industry in this country, well known and used by so many operators now. But how did that actually come about, and what was the, what was the problem you were trying to fix with loaded reports?
Well, probably the best way to illustrate it is again with the cook. We had this fabulous old 200-year-old safe in the cook that, you know, couldn't be moved with a crane. And we were running, you know, the cook had 3 bars. It had a serious TAB and 18 poke machines when we arrived. And so, you know, it was a huge amount of cash going through that business. And to reconcile it all and actually understand where the money was coming from, whether we were missing money or not reconciling correctly, we just had no idea. We just purely used to rely on what was happening, what the TAB, what the pokies were telling us, and what was hitting our bank account. So it was far from ideal. And James had an IT background, and you know, as with, I think, IT people, it's not necessarily their qualification, but it's a real interest area. And so this lack of transparency and lack of ability to find out when we had issues just drove him crazy. And you know, I think in those days in hospitality, you spend a lot of time not talking about facts. You talked about we think this is happening and we think that is happening. Well, you know, like, to someone who sees the world in black and white, that's really, really annoying. So he set out trying to find, you know, I guess some integrated point of sale right through to accounting systems that would give us the ability to manage our business in a, you know, more professional manner. And they just weren't available. So, I mean, this is 2004, 2005. So our first crack at it was just a very basic system, internal, I think it was called the Monster, because it was actually pretty difficult to use. But it started to give us some good information and started to allow us to be able to actually reconcile all the money that was coming through that business. But it was complicated to use. And so 2 or 3 years later, we hired our first programmer, and, you know, started trying to turn, this was prior to, you know, cloud, everybody moving all systems to the cloud. But we were basically starting to head in that direction at that point, still purely for our own benefit, because maybe we had 4 or 5 sites by now, and it just became more and more complicated. One, to, you know, monitor one site, but then 2, to have sites run in a consistent way so that you could actually make sure a general manager was achieving what they should be in each site. So really we were starting to centralize things and starting to move things to the cloud, even though it wasn't called that in those days.
Okay.
And I mean, it was really probably, you know, we obviously worked pretty closely with you through that period, and it wasn't until Lone Star was one product that we felt confident to, you know, take it to the market once a big group like that had sort of tested it. So
Sorry, we just lost you there. I just.
okay, sorry, where did you lose me?
Oh, no, there you go. No, you sound.
Okay, I don't know, is it my end or your end?
No, you sound better now. So then you went bigger from there.
Okay. Sorry, yeah, I'm also losing you now.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, but I can now, but you're fading in and out.
Do you want to just carry on from where you were?
Yeah, sorry, where did you lose me?
At Lone Star.
Okay, so well, yeah, basically once Lone Star came on board and rolled it out, I guess that gave us the confidence to sell it to a wider market, because we knew it worked well for us, but obviously with any software development, there's a lot of things to iron out, and things that you can't necessarily grab and touch and just fix there and then. So it wasn't until we'd had their usage that we really felt, it was the market ready product.
Okay. Okay, so a couple of sort of shorter questions here, but could you tell me the aspects of Loaded that you believe should be the starting point for a new user of Loaded Reports? If you got it in a week's time, and with all that you know about the system now and what you know about hospitality, where would you start succinctly with using Loaded Reports?
Yeah, I was having a think about this, and I really think it depends on what the business owner's after. If you own a site that's going well and you're just trying to, you don't have a motivation to go and grow and be 2 or 3 sites, but you want to stop needing to be on site 50 hours a week, then the starting point for me would be making sure that the way I'm using my point of sale, I understand the reports, the basic sales reports that I'm getting in Loaded Reports, because then you can, you've obviously got the ability to monitor your business from anywhere. And when you, however you communicate with your general manager, whether you have a 15-minute phone call with them each day, you're, if you've got the information, position of power in that conversation, imagining that every conversation you have with a manager of your business is a slight negotiation, that is from my perspective, it's a much better way to be having that conversation. Have you still got me, James?
Yes, I have. Look, Richard, I've just turned my camera off to see if that would help with the line we've got here.
Okay. Versus if you are a business owner that has ambitions, to build a huge multi-site hospitality company, well, then I would be say utilizing Loaded in its absolute totality. So, you need to be finding out every feature that we've got, and no feature has been added in for no reason. There is a benefit to basically every feature that we've got. Each week that goes on, each month that goes on, you want to be implementing that a little bit more and a little bit better, and understanding it more and understanding it better, so that as we develop the system more and more, you're riding along and capitalizing on the value that Loaded can add to your business.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So, I mean, to be a little more tactical, I would say, look, I always tell people for the time investment in getting budgeted sales, time clock and roster and online cash ups going, there is just so much benefit without very much time required to be invested to get that implemented into your business. Stock, on the other hand, is a biggie. And while the benefits are even greater, the time investment and planning up front to get that fully systemized through your business does take a lot longer.
Mm-hmm. Can I just ask you a question on that? You said, the benefits are greater, and we've seen with a number of our clients who have invested that time in the stock that the return benefits on the reduction of their GP, the reduction of their cost of goods and improvement of their GP has been significant.
Yeah.
Has that been consistent with what you've seen too?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Over the years, we've bought the odd hospitality business here and there, and we get a lot of opportunities brought to us, and we've been using Loaded, say, since creation. Well, on average, we outperform gross profit margins I'm talking after labour cost and after cost of good by about 8 to 10%.
On against industry average?
Well, against the average opportunities that we get brought to us, or the businesses that we've purchased. So that just significantly lowers our risk and our ability to get to break even.
Yeah.
And that's a key metric when we look at a new project is what do we have to do here to get to break even.
Mm-hmm.
So if our costs are significantly lower, we need less revenue to get there. And then, if we have a site that performs really well revenue-wise, then we obviously we enjoy the extra profitability because those margins tend to actually get easier as revenue increases rather than difficult.
Yeah.
And the thing for me is that return on investment and the time you put into your stock. If this week you do a stock take and you learn that, or you've fully implemented the stock program and you do a stock take and realize that the kitchen has been over portioning, a steak sandwich, and that's your biggest seller. And next week they portion it correctly, and the following week they portion it correctly. It's savings that you make continuously every week from there on. Obviously, you have to keep monitoring it. But these are not one-off savings. These are not like an operational expense where you make a one-off saving. With cost of goods, it's repeatable over and over again. And the system and culture that you end up with in place, are going to repeat in your next financial year and the following financial year. So, if your ambition is to go bigger and better, then the sooner you get those things in place, the better.
Yeah, okay. Excellent. Look, just a couple more questions for you. I thought this was an interesting one to present to you, which was with the amount of time and experience that you have now in business and in hospitality, what are the 2-3 pieces of advice you would give your younger self, knowing what you now know?
Yeah, it's quite an interesting one, isn't it? Because kind of a lot of the lessons you kind of have to go through. But I would say that sometimes we've been too much in a rush to make change, and that can kind of have, if you try and push that too hard, it can have a negative effect because your culture's also got to change. So it's not as simple as changing a system and expecting that next week everybody else cares about that as much as you do. Mm-hmm. Your incentive as the business owner is so much stronger than the rest of your team, and it's I just think it's unrealistic that they're going to care as much as you do about some of the changes that you want to make to your business. So letting that happen a little more organically is sometimes wise. And the other thing is, when you try and rush and do everything at once, you actually can kind of do everything a bit mediocrely, if that's a word. So, you know, the focus is really important. And, you know, sometimes while there's things that are annoying you, or there might be 10 things that are annoying you, you've just got to pick on the 2 or 3 that are going to add the most value to your business, rather than you know, go too wide and try and fix all 10 at once and do an average job of all of them. So I think we do that quite well now, but you know, through this process of building a business, we haven't always done that well. And the third one's I guess not so operational, as I would say you have to understand your balance sheet, particularly if your ambition is to grow your business. So you know, being a business owner, you know, it can give you some great fruits, but it comes with a lot of responsibility as well. And balance sheet kind of sets out your responsibilities. So, you know, the suppliers that are heavily invested in your business, there's financiers that are heavily invested in your business, there's employees that are heavily invested in your business, and then the shareholders that you have a responsibility to as the management of the business. So, understanding your balance sheet, and if you are planning on growing, the risk that you're putting on those people, I think is really important. So treating the business not just as your own little plaything, but as a separate entity which has responsibilities, I think is severely sort of estimated when people are looking at growing their businesses.
Yeah, well, that's very well said. Yeah.
So it's a bit boring, but it's definitely a truth, I think. Okay. Well, listen, we've taken a lot of your time, so thank you very much. We know that you're a busy man. You've got lots of projects on to keep you busy. So listen, thank you very much on behalf of us at the Hospitality Company for giving us some of your time and expertise. And yeah, all the best with your business and your company that's clearly going well. And I think I mentioned to you, I've been to some of your Auckland spots in the last month or 2, and they've been outstanding. So keep up the great work. Oh, good to hear. Yeah, thanks, James. And you know, if anybody's listening and wants to introduce a new client to Loaded, then please feel free. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thanks, James. Okay. Thanks, Rich. Cheers. Always good to chat. Thanks. You too. Okay.